Former Labour member of European Parliament, Julie Ward. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, it's very good to be here again. I wish I was in your studio for real, but at least we have fantastic technology to make sure we're connected and still speaking up about important things. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you very much. So what is your message to Erdogan government to stop military operations and airstrikes to Kurdish areas and your comments about invasion attempt to Kurdistan?
Well, I've always been very outspoken about Mr. Erdogan's adventures. I'm not really sure how else to describe it because many of the things that the Turkish government are doing are really not in line with international norms. They're not in line with the kind of behavior one expects from a candidate country for EU accession. And in fact, he uses crises as kind of cover for some of the worst excesses. And I think that we're in this global pandemic. People have got their eyes off the ball. Hardly anything except COVID-19 is making the front pages. And yet again, Erdogan, sends his aeroplanes, his military into action against, often against his own citizens, but also in a very undemocratic, aggressive way against democratic forces who are defending a pluralistic society. So I don't see a change in his behavior. I think this is what we've come to expect, really. But we still have to call it out. We have to call it out, and we have to say, we're watching. There are people here who, in the world, who care about human rights enough to still be aware of what is happening in rogue states. And I would say, Turkey is becoming a rogue state.
Turkey is on headlines again with other violation of human rights, the removal of parliamentary membership of two HDP MPs. So, do you think Turkey is a democratic state?
No, I don't. I mean, my engagement with at the highest level really shows that Turkey sits alongside states like Kazakhstan and Russia now, who are rewriting the rules and the to suit themselves. I mean, the leaders, the presidents, the people at the top are rewriting the rules so that there is no opposition and so that they can have total control. But people shouldn't forget also that I did a day of election observation in one of these cities a couple of years ago, and I witnessed all kinds of dodgy things happening, really, in terms of how that election was undertaken. And I was an election observer for the European Parliament, so I'm trained in doing election observation in fragile democracies. Well, and so I applied those principles to my day of doing election observation in Turkey, and I saw things that we would really be concerned about at a European level.
How important is women's liberation for the Middle East, and can the Kurdish women movement play a real role in achieving it?
Well, I'm a feminist, and women's liberation is important everywhere. I can't remember what wave of feminism we're in now, but it really needs a revival. And we need education programs as well, so that people understand that to be a feminist means simply equal rights for women, and that men need to be feminists too. And so I led a women's delegation to Rojava 2 years ago, And I really learned and understood the power of the women's role in rebuilding society and using really inclusive democracy and political education to build a better society. And that also links with addressing environmental problems as well. And I'm also aware of the water project, the Mesopotamian water project at the minute. Also, you know, these are all initiatives that women are coming up with. So it is absolutely crucial. You know, women make up more than 50% of the world. We're not visible enough in the public sphere. And where women are participating in democratic processes, actually we end up with a better society and everybody wins.
Recently, there have been serious attacks against women, especially in Kurds, both in northern Kurdistan and Rojava. There are 3 women in the Kobane were killed by aerial bombardment. Managers of the Women's Association were arrested in Ahmed. Tortured women were detained. How much do you know about these events? How do you evaluate these pressure? And what do you think of that actions are related with?
Well, these things have been going on for some time. They're not new. We've seen some terrible, awful violence. I work very closely, in fact, with Margaret Owen, who is again a great supporter of the Kurdish cause. Margaret is a human rights lawyer, but she's also an international women's rights campaigner. And we are sharing information about what is happening. Margaret's been very busy. She writes to the newspapers. Her letters don't necessarily get published, but you know, there are people like us who will continue to speak out about these issues, and we're sharing information. Also, all the women who participated in that delegation I led in 2018 to Rojava, where we continue to communicate with each other on a WhatsApp group. We are meeting online to discuss these issues. So we keep ourselves up to date with what is happening in the news. We're discussing these things, you know, and we're still building the movement amongst ourselves. So, but we're in difficult times with COVID-19. So, you know, I think it's just crucial that we keep talking about these things, that we're sharing the information. As things stand at the minute, we can't make the front pages of the newspapers. We know that. But that doesn't mean we stop talking about these within the different political campaign groups that we're working in.
How do you comment on the attitude of European countries and international institutions on Turkey's occupation attacks against Kurdish land?
Well, I'm not an MEP anymore, so sadly my voice is not on the European Parliament stage anymore. But there are good people in the European Parliament who still will take up this cause. You know, even from the election of the new legislature from July last year, we could see some really amazing, wonderful people who were going to be strong voices in the European Parliament. And these people have access to the commissioners. They also have a role in their member states, in their own parties. And I have to say, I was really, really pleased recently that the Party of European Socialists women's group, so that's PES Women, we did a solidarity action with Women of Rojava. We joined in with the Rise Up for Women of Rojava movement. And I was really pleased about that. You know, I'd never seen that before. I was often one of the few people speaking out, you know, as a woman in Party of European Socialists. And yet this action was sent out to all the PES women. And I know that many PES women joined in. So that's hope. That's hopeful that we have the campaign in such a mainstream way now.
Many Yazidi women are still captured. There are reports that women were kidnapped and killed. Do you have any studies on this subject? Does the world see enough of them?
No, no, not really. In the European Parliament, we had a friendship group with Yazidis, and Joseph Weisenholzer, who was an Austrian Socialist and Democrat MEP, he was very active in that issue. I know that he'd actually been to Iraq, that he was really fearless and an amazing, incredible man. But he was not re-elected in the last mandate. And you know, I left at the end of January because of Brexit, and really the legislature was just beginning. Committees had only, people weren't really doing the kind of meaty things that you do as an MEP. Everybody was waiting for the commission to be constituted and for all the different committees and friendship groups to get up and running. So I think there's still a way to go there. There is in the UK some discussion about the Murad Code. So this is to do with Nadia Murad, who won the Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought that the European Parliament gives out. She then won the Nobel Peace Prize. And so the Murad Code is really taking a lead from what she experienced and from her testimony, her recommendations. She's also spoken at the UN, the big UN meeting of women that happens every March. Except it didn't happen this year because of COVID. But I do think that the issue about Yazidis is going to rise up the agenda when we can get parliaments meeting again. We can have a more functional European Parliament where liaison with the commissioners can be easier.
Former Labour member of European Parliament, Julie Ward, thanks for joining us. Thanks for supporting our channel today.
Okay. Solidarity to all of you.
Thank you.